Hey friends, welcome back to the Life of a Makeup Artist podcast. Today we are diving into the world of skincare with someone who truly knows the ins and outs of the industry. Charlotte Palermino, as the founder of the innovative skincare brand Dieux, Charlotte has brought a refreshing and thoughtful approach to skincare with a special focus on high-quality, science-backed products. That's what we need, okay? Based in New York, she's an advocate for winter skincare, Korean sunscreen, and some of our favorite trends that we've seen come up in skincare. Now, Charlotte's background in publishing at Cosmo and her keen eye for both skincare and social issues have made her a trusted brand voice and a bit of a disruptor in the beauty industry. We have lots to talk about today, but before we get into it, Charlotte, how are you?
I'm great. I'm sitting here with you on this couch.
We finally made this happen.
I know. It's been a long time coming.
It's
since
been a
June.
long time. That was in June.
I know. This time is like sand slipping through my fingers.
Literally, we went to this barefaced beauty dinner with Brady, which was I never experienced anything like that.
That was so fun.
Yeah, one of the requirements of the dinner was that you didn't wear makeup.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not, so.
I was like, okay, at least let me make sure I'm looking a bit dewy, moisturized. But how are you before we get into all the things? How's life?
I'm good. Life's good. I moved into an apartment with my partner. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm living a good life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know it's a lot going on lately, but we gotta take care of our mental.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, my life is good, so that's good. And it allows me to do more for others.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so you have been known for championing sunscreens, especially Korean formulas.
Yes.
Okay, so what is it about Korean sunscreens that stand out the most to you in comparison to what you can find in the US?
So for me, it's kind of a blend of value for what you're getting, right? So for me, value, it's price and it's quality. I don't think there are better quality products you can buy for that price. Do I love French sunscreens? Yes. Je suis moitié française. I speak French fluently. I spent a lot of my childhood there. I love French sunscreens, but they can be expensive, especially when you're looking at the conversion rates and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
to the USD.
That Caudalie one I love though.
It's so good.
In the yellow.
I love Caudalie generally as a brand. And so when you're looking at Korean sunscreens, you can get some incredible sunscreens that have no white cast that go on like silk, because I think my biggest criticism of sunscreens in the US is how they apply.
Yeah.
Because in order for a sunscreen to work, you need to apply a lot of it. And I know all of our makeup junkies will understand this, but you know Meredith Duxbury, that influencer, that the level of foundation she's putting on is basically what you need to be putting on for sunscreen, because that's actually how they measure it. To get the SPF 50, for example, on your face. And so any less than a very healthy amount, you're actually not getting the stated protection.
Wow.
And so for me, in order for a sunscreen to work, you have to put a lot of it on. And so that to me is Korean sunscreen.
Yeah.
And you can do that because of the filters.
Yeah.
They have sunscreen filters that are not yet approved to be a drug in the United States, because in the US, we regulate and approve sunscreen filters like they are drugs, like they're vaccines.
Wow.
And like, so it's just been totally held up.
Which is so interesting because the US just lets anything in food. So why does it take so long?
Okay, I will say I will push back a little bit on that. So we actually have a really a more robust system than what people would think.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think the bigger issue is like the entire system as a whole is not really working.
Right.
But it's like, for example, just because I'm like, not to get into politics, but like RFK Jr., for example, he talks a lot about like Fruit Loops, literally.
Right.
His name goes on about Fruit Loops. And he talks about how in Canada they have, 11 ingredients or like 3 ingredients in their Fruit Loops, and we have 19.
Right.
It's actually because the FDA requires more transparency into ingredients. And so you actually have to list out more ingredients in the US. And so what's actually been a really big problem in the United States from a food perspective is actually the supplement industry, because a lot of things are actually getting into our food supply that are not technically labeled as food.
Right.
They go under the supplement category. And so that's actually where we've been having a lot of issues. But like obviously we can be doing better in the United States. I think food accessibility is a big issue, and food deserts. But like, I'm a little bit nervous about what's going to be happening from a regulatory perspective. And I'm like, we're going to be like pining for the days when we had what we have now.
Yeah, because I have,
if things go sideways.
Yeah, I have sensitivities and things that I don't eat anymore, like gluten. And it's like, oh, it says no gluten, but then it's wheat, and then it's just like you always have to read the labels.
You have to be almost an investigative
Yeah.
journalist. And like, I like, honestly, it's like, people always are like, oh, like in Europe, like, the food is so much better. And I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I'm like, why do I know what is denim gum? Like,
Yeah.
I should know this. Also, my friend just went to Korea and bought me sunscreen, so I'm very excited.
Really?
Yes, she got me so
We gotta
much
get you to
skincare.
Korea.
Oh, I need
We gotta
to
go.
go.
We gotta go to Seoul.
I gotta show. I want to send you a picture of what she got me.
Like,
so
can we
you
get
can
Birdie
see.
to do that
I
barefaced dinner
I
in
know,
Seoul?
right? But I want to send you a picture and see if you recognize any of the stuff that she gave me. But I'm really excited. She got me 2 different sunscreens. Obviously, I don't know the name of them.
Yeah.
So I just got them last
Like Beauty
week.
of Joseon?
No, actually.
Round Lab?
Yeah, I don't know. One is in a green tube, and then I can't. The other one I think is blue, but I'll
So
send
cool.
it. Yeah. So living in New York, winter could be harsh, even though we're going through a drought right now. What is your go-to? Literally, how we have forest fires? Like, what is happening? Not forest,
Well,
but
climate
literally a
change is
park.
what's happening.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
How?
Yeah. So what is your winter skincare routine? Like your go-to routine? Is there any tips that you have for others trying to protect their skin from the cold?
So when I was very young, I've always had really dry skin. And I think that when you have more eczematic skin, that can be kind of like a symptom of it. I also have rosacea. My grandmother, who's French, used to slather me in Nivea cold cream.
Oh, wow.
And like that cream works so well because it has like Vaseline, it has like all these like super, or like petrolatum, but it has these really rich ingredients in it. And so for me now, what I do in the winter is I still do all my actives because, 37, I want to speed up cell turnover, things like that. So I use my retinoids and my glycolic acid and all those things, but it can actually sensitize your skin. It can also dry your skin out. And so what I do is I layer a lot of hydration and then I make sure to trap that hydration. It's like if you just were to use like a hydrating serum, it's just going to evaporate. Like if you spill water on a glass table, just think about it, it's just going to evaporate.
Right.
Or sorry, on a wood table. But if you put oil on a wood table, it's going to actually kind of like, sink into it. If you just leave it there, it's going to leave an oil stain. And so it's kind of like that with your skin. Your skin is a little bit permeable, right? So making sure that you dampen it and then applying oils. And then after that, applying really rich, heavy, like almost waxes and butters. Like, shea butter is really demonized in the industry. It's a wonderful moisturizer. Even beef tallow, it's not my favorite because it goes rancid so quickly. Wow. But my mother used to use Crisco on her face. And it's like, again, these are just really like, these are like waxes that you just put on your face. And it's like Vaseline doesn't smell and it doesn't go rancid. So that's also a really good one.
Yeah, actually, I've been using Vaseline a little bit more just because my skin has been super sensitive, which I never would touch. And I've also been seeing beef tallow a lot on TikTok.
So beef tallow, it's like the newest. It's like not, the thing is, it's not a new trend. Like there's nothing new anymore. But beef tallow, the reason why people are obsessed with it is because it's like the fats in it are like a skin mimetic. Like it's very similar to the sebum, the oil that your skin produces. So is squalane. Like it's like, it's just so funny. People are like, well, it's like similar to your skin. I'm like, yes, there are so many oils that your skin produces. It does not have to be beef tallow. My problem with beef tallow is that it goes rancid really quickly.
Yeah.
Which means it goes off and then it smells really bad.
Ugh.
Also, like European settlers used to use beef tallow on their faces, and indigenous people to the US used to use petrolatum. And I'm like, I'm going to go with what the indigenous people said.
Right. Okay. So you have your own brand, Dieux, which has a loyal following. What product from Dieux do you personally reach for the most? I know that's like
so there's one that I use.
Children.
There's one that I use a lot, and then there's one that I panic if it's going to run out. And the one that I panic if it's going to run out is Deliverance.
Okay.
So Deliverance is a serum that tackles inflammation. You can't say inflammation because that's really a drug. That's like more of a drug term. So we have to say calming and soothing of the skin. We did a lot of research on the cannabinoids that are in there, but we also did research on the final formula. And so it really helps soothe and calm down the skin. And so it from there also will help with things like hyperpigmentation. It strengthens the barrier. And so I like to say it's the product that lets me get reckless with my routine. Like before this product, I could not use retinol.
Really?
I could not use glycolic acids. I could not use skincare because my skin was just too sensitive. And so I remember I got a horrible rash from using this like plant-based retinol product, which I think just had like a lot of plant components, which can be kind of like how fragrance is very allergenic. So are plants because they have so many different components. And so I got this crazy rash. And I was about to go see my mother, who is French. And all she would talk about, I knew, was going to be the rash. And so I was like, I got to get the rash under control if I want a seamless visit with my mother. And so I used something that Joyce gave me, which I found out was the cannabinoid complex that we did clinical testing on. And it totally brought it down. And I was
How
like,
long
we're
did
really
it
on
take?
something. Oh, it was within hours. Yeah, but it was like a rash. It
Right.
wasn't like people who have like chronic conditions.
Right.
Like I don't know, we'll
Yeah.
see. But like strengthening your barrier is always good. But
Yeah. So slugging is a trend that has been around. I mean, I feel like it was trending a little while ago. What are your thoughts on it, and would you recommend it for all skin types?
so slugging actually originated on Reddit, and it's people who've been on Accutane. So Accutane is an acne medication. It basically kills your sebaceous glands. So when you no longer have oil production, like you're self lubricating all the time because your skin is basically meant to like waterproof you. And so if you're not producing enough oil, then your skin's super dry. Vaseline occludes the skin up to 99%. So if you have an impaired barrier, if you have a cut, if you have anything, if you have a moist environment, it heals more quickly. It's why it's good for eczema. And so I absolutely do not recommend it for everyone. It's been around for a really long time. Like for me and my family, it was Nivea, but I've heard from like some of like my friends who are Black, they're like, oh no, my mom used to like slather me in Vaseline.
Right.
And then Marilyn Monroe, like one of her biggest beauty tips was she would shower or bathe or whatever. And then while her skin was damp, she would put on Vaseline.
Wow.
So it's basically the idea is that you're just trapping the hydration. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And so it's good for people with dry skin. It's not necessarily good for people with acne unless if you're on a medication that dries out your skin.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what were some of the key skincare concerns you wanted to address when you were developing Dieux, and how did that really shape your line?
So what's really great about Dieux is one of my co-founders is Joyce Delemos, cosmetic chemist. She used to do patents at SkinCeuticals. And we really always like to start with what your skin needs and what is something that we don't necessarily see on the market. We like to have a take on something. And so while you see tons of barrier repair products now, Deliverance was kind of one of the first of its kind where it's like tackling, calming, and soothing the skin. It was a reaction to all of the stuff that we were throwing on our faces in 2020 and even 2019 because we started developing the formula in 2018. And we really wanted to bring science to not only cannabinoids, which are components from the hemp plant and the cannabis plant, but also kind of put it in a well-rounded formula.
Right.
And so anything that we do, it's either going to be a take on a formula that, like, for example, Instant Angel, that's an amazing moisturizer. So Joyce did the patent for SkinCeuticals triple lipid.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that 2:4:2 ratio, that is just the ratio that is found in your skin.
Right.
As you get older, it depletes at that ratio. So you want to replenish it. And so that's what the basis behind Instant Angel is. It's the lipids, it's the cholesterol, and it's the ceramides that your skin is losing, and we're replenishing that.
Right.
But because we're using plant-based ingredients and because of the packaging that we choose and things like that, we're able to offer it at a really great price.
Right. So when you work at a magazine, you have that closet, that beauty closet, and you've seen so many different products. You're seeing their branding, you're seeing what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. How did your experience shape like how you do your own product development and brand storytelling?
I think that when you look at a lot of brands, they are started by people who see a market opportunity. And we definitely saw that from a transparency standpoint, from a science standpoint. Unfortunately, beauty can cause some distrust in institutions. And being anti-science to me is something saying if you say parabens are bad, that is anti-science.
Right.
Because you're taking all of the nuance out of it. And so for us, we wanted to be this TMI brand that almost has like this due process before we launch something, but also how we're going to talk to you. And so for us, it was very much so that, but also best in class formulas that actually were much better in pricing. A lot of brands charge you what they think they can charge you. It is a business.
Yeah.
We're a business too. Let's not get anything twisted here. But it's like, I want people to understand how we got to this math.
Right.
And so that's where we actually have almost a checks and balance on what we actually cap our prices at.
Yeah. There's a lot of fear mongering, especially in
Big time.
advertising, and it's just like,
Because fear, I mean, look at this, look at what just happened. Like, fear is an incredible motivator.
yeah,
Fear is an incredible motivator.
yeah, because it's just like then you get so overwhelmed about what to use, you end up not using
Well,
anything.
it actually shuts your brain off.
Yeah.
And so when you're afraid, your brain, it's like, I think it's like the limbic system. It's
Mhm.
like basically, it's like you just aren't thinking anymore and you are just acting. And
Right.
think about it, you're being chased by a bear. It's not like you're actually making the most rational decisions.
Right.
That's great for consumption.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to our industry. Okay, so we've seen a lot of trends and a lot of buzzwords. Are there any recent trends you feel like are worth the hype?
Yeah. I see a lot of hate towards skin cycling
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get it. It's like, I feel like people get really caught up on terms and like, this has been around forever. And I'm like, there's always something new to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked at Cosmo in like 2012 and I think until 2014, I think is when I started at Snapchat. And it was so funny because on TikTok right now, I'm still seeing things trending
Right.
that went viral for us on Pinterest and Facebook, like beauty hacks
Wow,
and
yeah.
tips and tricks. And it's like, and it's just like there's always something new to somebody. So skin cycling is the idea that you use a exfoliant or retinoid
Mhm.
and then take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like people use it in different ways, but the idea is that exfoliating is a keratolytic. So it's basically kind of like helping with that first layer of skin to kind of shed.
Right.
Then you have the retinoid. It can penetrate a little bit better because you just exfoliated your skin the next night.
Right.
And you have the retinoic acid going in. It's going into a nice smooth area. And it can kind of like, tell your retinoic acid receptors to increase cell turnover and talk to your fibroblasts to like increase collagen production. And then you take a rest, right? Because you need your skin to kind of chill out. It's like working out. Like
Right.
you don't want to be throwing everything on your face, just like you wouldn't run a marathon, like, in a day,
Right.
unless if you had been training for it for a really long time. The New York Marathon would have just happened. I'm always in awe of anyone who runs the New York Marathon.
No, I
like,
telling my friends
respect.
like, you should run so I could cheer for you because
Exactly. I love making a sign. Crafting?
Yeah,
Up
I'll
my
never.
alley.
This was my first time going.
Oh,
I've
that's
never.
incredible.
Yeah, I never went before. Why was it so emotional? I was like all teary and
It's
stuff.
so, I think it's because you're seeing people do a lot of really hard work and it paying off. And so, yes, that would be kind of like with skin cycling. And so a lot of dermatologists I've seen kind of be like, roll their eyes at it and stuff like that. And I'm like, I get it. We hate the marketing term. It's kind of like with slugging. It's a marketing term, not even a marketing term. It's just like a trending term,
Right.
but it's still a helpful tool for people to understand that exfoliants are great. Retinoids are great. Do not rip your face off.
Yeah.
Because when you use too many actives on your face and it freaks out, like, have you ever had that happen where you use too much retinol?
No, I'm too scared.
You're too scared. So I'm not. I wish I was more scared.
Yeah,
I need to be
no.
I've been
I'm like, if
humbled.
I'm doing this, like, okay, that's fine. But because I have eczema and my eczema is very
Right.
sporadic. Like sometimes I'll go periods where it's fine.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like a little bit on my eyes when I was younger around my mouth, but that's basically it. But yeah,
You're too scared.
Not that I'm too scared. I just know that you don't need to do the most.
Right. So for our dear listeners, if you've ever accidentally used too many retinoids or too much of an exfoliant and your face burns for like days after, that's actually a wound. And so you need to go the same way that you would heal a cut.
Right.
You want to heal this. And sometimes even if you're breaking out from using too many products, same thing. You do a lot less. Like, it's so funny. If you cut your hand open, you wouldn't start putting
No.
a chemical peel on it. And
So
that's what
what
people
would you
do
put?
sometimes.
What would you put on it?
A little Vaseline.
Just Vaseline.
Or just like a moisturizer that your
Yes.
skin likes.
And
Stay
no
out of the
hot
sun.
water, right? Because that was like
Yeah,
what
be a
is
little
that-
careful. It can dry out.
exacerbated. Yeah.
Yeah, it can dry out your skin. And so just stay out of the sun. Like exactly what you would do if you have an injury.
Right. Do you like Biafine?
I like it for burns.
For burns. I was reading online, some people use it like on their face. I've never used it for anything else.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
Yeah, I never use it for anything else
Oh.
but a burn.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's in every like family member's household of
Mhm.
mine in France. And it's for when you get a sunburn.
Right.
For me, I once was doing French press coffee
Mhm.
and the water just came out and hit me here. And I had like a burn all here. And Biafine, like you can't even see
Isn't
it
it
anymore.
crazy?
It's actually insane.
So I live in
think it's
an older
petroleum in it.
building,
Yeah.
and you see how that is visible right there.
Oh my gosh.
I
like the radiator.
literally the radiator. I literally rest this hand Underrated, because I don't know what I was doing. I was pressing down on it, and this whole
fried your
area,
own. You
I
fried.
literally fried my hand.
It's
And the
dangerous
beefing
living in New
got rid of
York.
it.
It's literally dangerous in New York. But that's the thing. It's fantastic for that.
Yeah.
And so it's a really great product. But I would it has an analgesic in it, which is basically to help reduce pain. I would never use that on my face every day. That is not a good idea.
Kind of crazy.
It's not a good idea. And it's also got a lot of fragrance. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It's a lot. I didn't realize it had fragrance. Well, I don't use it often because I don't burn myself.
Well, exactly. You have a BFine tube, and basically that's your tube for life. You're going to be buried with that tube. Like literally.
It's the best though. Okay, so you actually have been getting a lot of buzz around your new under eye mask.
Oh, the promote homosexuality ones?
Yes. And your thoughts are that every brand is political. Can you share more about the reasoning?
Well, I think it's like if you don't talk about politics, it doesn't mean that you don't do politics. And I think we're entering a time where it is getting a little bit scary because we may be getting into an era where people are punished for what they share on their political views. So, it's something that I think about, but, I have a pretty diverse team, mostly women. I'm worried based off where they live by state. Like it just shouldn't be like that, right? It's all my team. It's all the team do. But depending on where you live, you're going to have different rights as a woman. That seems really scary and weird. And so, the promote homosexuality eye masks, we made that because, I think that so many beauty brands talk about self-care. And self-care usually is done in isolation, right? I sometimes do my beauty routine with my friends, but everyone probably knows this. When you're going out to a club or for a night out for dinner, the best part of the night is getting ready with your friends. And it's because community is self-care. It's not necessarily the products. Don't get me wrong. Like I love painting myself. I love decoration. I love skincare. I love taking care of myself. But for those eye masks, we really wanted to show up for a community that has had so much against them in the last year. There's been over 510 pieces of state legislation against the LGBTQIA plus community. And it's just like, this is crazy. And they are also part of the reason why we even have this robust beauty industry. If you look at, just even like drag techniques. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if you like baking, if you like contouring, if you like highlight, because it's about exaggerating these like beautiful, like feminine features, but also just like, embracing femininity. And so I don't know. I'm really scared for my communities. And I think that if brands want to talk about diversity and inclusion, it's also about protecting people who are literally under attack. Like literally. Like that's not like people always talk about things being good for business. I'm like, I don't know how good authoritarianism's for business.
Right.
I don't know. To be seen.
I mean, hopefully we don't find out, but that's another conversation. Okay, so if you had to start over your entire skincare collection, what are the 5 products that you would buy first?
Ooh, love that. Okay. So number 1's always going to be a cleanser. I live in New York. We live in New York. 'Tis gross. It's a lot of free radicals floating around on these streets and in the air.
It's so bad.
It's weird. So that, number 1, you want to wash your face. Number 2 would be a sunscreen. And this is in order of importance. Sunscreen, because I'm very pale and I need to protect my skin. I used to tan a lot as a kid. I'm trying to undo a lot of the damage that I've done. It's also great for protecting you against skin cancer, which runs in my family. Then I would get a moisturizer, a nice rich moisturizer, because I can use however much I want. Then I would get, would I get an antioxidant serum? Or would I do a retinoid?
Like a vitamin C?
No, I use niacinamide a lot. Vitamin C I find can be a little bit irritating for me, but everyone's going to be different.
Right.
I'm oscillating between a retinoid and some sort of a niacinamide type antioxidant, like Deliverance. A Deliverance, like a soothing skin barrier, skin strengthening serum. So I'm oscillating between those 2. Those are my 5.
Tried Deliverance.
But retinoids are great. Oh, I should have brought you one.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
We'll send it to you.
I'm like, yes, my skin needs that right now. Because when I was in Paris, I bought A313 and did not touch it. But now I'm like, don't think I'm going to use that.
I mean, dermatologists do not recommend this. I'm not a dermatologist, by the way. I'm just a licensed esthetician. I didn't get to practice too much, though I am thinking about actually starting to practice more. So that's going to be exciting. But you can kind of spot treat. So for me, I don't get Botox yet. So I use retinoids really on my forehead almost every day. But I don't really touch my face because this is the area where I'm much more sensitive.
Oh, so I can use it just.
Yeah. I would be careful with A313 though, because it's a pomade. It's like a Vaseline type. It's very rich. And so if you apply the A313 on your forehead and then you say you apply a moisturizer all over without letting this fully absorb for like 10 minutes, you'll spread it all over your face and then you might get a rash. Yeah, that's the thing. You got to wait for your products to actually sink in because you can move them around.
Yeah.
Like if it's like an exfoliating serum, you got to wait 15 minutes.
So I always say this wrong. Okay, hold on. Minoxidil.
Yeah.
I've been watching so many videos on it and people are like, oh, my face is like so hairy. And it's just like, yeah, because you might be rubbing, if you're doing your skincare after, you're rubbing minoxidil over here. And I have one that my derm gave me, but I'm like, do I want to give a werewolf over the winter? I don't know. I'm kind of scared to use
I
it.
mean, yeah, it makes,
I'm
if
like,
you just,
I'm gonna have to tape my face or something.
exactly.
I'm so dead serious. I'm like, how could I circumvent this?
Sheet mask.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Or tape. I mean, I don't want to stop you from a good time.
I didn't think that one.
I don't want to.
I have hair on my face.
I'm like, oh my girl, I'll get you a face mask. Like, don't tape your face.
It's so funny. Okay, so you have so much going on. You know, you're a licensed esthetician. Like you said, you want to start practicing more. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so the thing is with being an esthetician is that it's one of those really interesting places where you touch a lot of faces and you're spending a lot of time with people. And so one thing that I did love was facial massage. There's a limit though to what it can do, right? Like if you go to a dermatologist, you know, you're going to be spending probably more money, but like they are very dramatic results. Whereas like when you're spending time with an esthetician, it's to get that skincare advice. You can also do great things like chemical peels, extractions, microcurrents, ultrasound. Like you can do plenty of things that will like stimulate your skin, but it's more like acupuncture. Like you have to go often. It's not like a one and done. It's like if you're going to see an esthetician, you should be basically going once a month. Like that's kind of the vibe. Like if you're really going to commit. Otherwise, it's basically like a spa experience, right? If that makes sense. Yeah.
So when are you anticipating?
So we're setting up the office right now for Dieux. We have a much bigger office. And so once we get that set up, I'm seeing if I can get a massage table in one of like the conference rooms that's really beautiful. And I'm like, we can set it into like a little content studio / on weekends I can have people come in. Yeah.
Please sign me up.
I will.
So you have, you're setting up the studio, you're running your brand, you're consistent on social media. How do you balance?
I don't. And I don't have children. I think that's important to say. I'm planning on starting to try. Right. And so something's going to have to go. Right. So that's that. No illusions here.
It's like, I don't have children.
I don't have children.
Like, I don't have to go that hard. I don't got kids.
I don't know how people do it. I am so impressed by moms.
Same.
Moms literally deserve monuments and money.
Yeah. Literally.
Opposite order, money, then monuments. But no, all the things. It's crazy. My sister has 4 kids and it's like, I am just so in awe of moms because it ultimately so much does fall on them. Right. And I'm just like, damn, okay. Yeah. If I'm going to be doing that, I need to drop something. Yeah. Yeah. A ball needs to be dropped or just placed in a corner for like a couple years.
Yeah. But even without kids, we're still very big candidates for being overwhelmed and anxious and, all the things. How do you deal with, sometimes having so much on your plate and...
Oh, yeah. And like also like any woman that has an opinion on the internet has a big target on her back as well. And I have a lot of opinions, but also like I come from a place of privilege. So I'm like, it's kind of like comes with the territory. But what I would say is you have to take breaks. You cannot read all the comments. Like I don't respond to all comments. Right. Like sometimes I see something and I'm like, that's not somebody who's trying to talk to me in good faith. That's somebody who wants to yell at me or is having a bad day. Like I wish you well. And so I think a lot of therapy, also really helps because ultimately I cannot change how people act. All I can do is change how I react to them. Yeah. And you don't have to react to angry people. Yeah. You just don't.
No.
Because you're not going to change minds on the internet. Like the internet is a place where brain rot is happening in front of our eyes.
Absolutely.
Brain rot's happening.
You have to protect your peace at the same
Truly,
time.
truly. Yeah.
So is there anything we can look forward to from Dieux?
I mean, there was a little sneak peek at the beginning of this, but Joyce is hard at work in the lab with our amazing formulator, Becca. And so we're focusing a lot on, I'm like, I don't want to give anything away, OTC products, over-the-counter drugs. So we shall see. That's a hint.
That's a hint.
That's a hint.
That's all we could give you.
Yep.
But I already know that my pre-order is in. Okay, my pre-order is in because I need all the things. Especially because I'm going to be 36 next year.
I mean, I'm like, I want to give you something in the back. Well, I am going to make you try something on your hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Have it with you?
Yeah. It's a sunscreen.
Oh, yes.
We had somebody who tried it and it didn't leave a white cast, but I'm curious. You want to apply your sunscreen in layers to see if it creates a cast.
Yeah.
But basically, the US hasn't had a new sunscreen filter approved since the late 90s. And so we're really operating in the dark ages. Europe is doing a lot of regulation with some chemical filters. They're just like lowering the amounts that you can use it. Yeah, it's pretty good though.
This is nice.
So it's a blend of chemical and mineral. So it's actually really nice based under makeup. Yeah. Oh. Move. I was like, of course you can see it. So yeah, we'll see when we launch this. I think we need to test on, because the thing is like, it's not going to be sheer on everyone depending on how much you use.
I'm not,
but I think,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like we did have somebody try that was deeper in melanation than you are, but it's still one of those things where it's like, we want to like just test on everyone. We want to show you the correct amount. And we're probably going to like, show you in imagery. Because I think the biggest thing is like when you've seen all these controversies with like blushes and things like that with white bases, and it's like you're probably looking at this as like a makeup artist from like a color theory standpoint. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Just because like it's probably pretty obvious to you what's happening. Yeah. But for me, it's like also the marketing. Like you can make that, just don't say it's for everyone.
Right.
Because then it's misleading. And so I think for mineral sunscreens, you just can't call them sheer.
Yeah.
Because it's literally white powder.
Or say it's for everyone.
Yeah. Or it's like, it can be for you, but you better wear makeup over it.
Yeah. But would you ever go into the world of tinted?
We are looking into tinted. I think for me, my thing with tinted sunscreen is that you're never going to get enough on your face. You always use less. And so you're actually worsening the protection. And so for me, what I'd rather do is make this and then we focus on a tinted, because then if you're layering them, it actually does. That's a great layer of protection.
Yeah.
So I actually use sunscreen and then I use a tinted sunscreen. I'll always layer on top.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
So I need to be doing
I'm also
both?
very pale. I'm very white. When you are more pale, you age more quickly for a few reasons. One is the sun, and it actually, UVA rays will basically munch up your fibroblasts and you produce less collagen and elastin. You also have thinner skin, like a little bit, just enough. Like men have thicker skin.
Right.
But it's like so marginal, but it's enough where you just don't have that cushion. And then also there are less fibroblasts in my skin. And so fibroblasts are what helps create collagen and elastin. And so if you have more melanin, you typically have more fibroblasts. So you're just producing a little bit more collagen. That's why skin starts to deflate a little bit more quickly when you are a little bit. It can be a lot depending on how much sun you see. And so sunscreen's really important for everyone. But if you care about your skin, this is like the cheapest.
So you do a mineral, and then you always do mineral, or
we're working on a chemical sunscreen, but we're not getting it at the level of protection that we want.
Okay, but you layer the sunscreen, so regular sunscreen, then you're tinted on top, and then your makeup.
I tend to use a tinted sunscreen that has an encapsulated zinc, because if you layer sunscreens on top of each other, they might actually like mess with each other in the protection. So if you have an encapsulated zinc, you should be fine.
We love that. Well, thank you so much for all of the advice. I feel like I have so much to look forward to. Because
we're gonna be sending you some stuff.
I'm so excited because I feel like I have the mask, and I think I got it from Birdie one time. It was like Instant Angel, I believe. It was like a Birdie Beauty Lab. It was in the bag. And I was like, ooh, what's this? But yes, you have so much to look forward to. What is one thing that you're looking forward to in 2025?
2025, I think the thing we're looking forward to is we're going to be doing some new takes on our existing products. People don't really care about sustainability when they're buying products. For me, I'm like, I can make it really beautiful and fun and still make it sustainable. So I'm excited about some of the changes we're having.
I love that. Well, please tell your new friends how to find you on all platforms.
So you can find me at Charlotte Palermino on Instagram. You can find the brand at Dieux Skin.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we've seen each other so many times, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy we finally got to chat. But you guys know, you can see the full visual episodes over on YouTube at The Life of a Makeup Artist or at Jaleesa Jaikaran. And we are on TikTok and Instagram at The Life of a Makeup Artist. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.